two deep dives generated by Google Notebooklm on Mozart's serene and vivacious passages from his concertos. Here is the first one.
Remember our deep dive into those quiet moments in Beethoven?
Yeah.
Well, it looks like our listeners are hooked on Serenity.
Right. Yeah.
So today, we're taking a similar trip, but this time it's through Mozart.
Nice.
Specifically his violin and piano concertos.
Okay.
So think of this as like another cheat code to musical genius.
I like it.
Specifically how he created these moments of serenity.
Yeah.
And how he kept that going across his whole career.
Absolutely. And we have a great source for this deep dive.
Right.
We've been checking out Kai-Fong Lee on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he actually got inspired by our Beethoven episode.
That's cool.
So he's done some exploring of these very serene passages in Mozart.
Awesome.
So our mission, if you will, is to kind of hear that thread of beautiful calmness in Mozart's work
Okay.
throughout his career.
To set the stage, we're focusing on his 5 violin concertos.
Right.
Most of which he composed in a pretty short period,
Yeah.
around 1775.
Right.
Mozart was only about 19 years old.
A teenager.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Yeah.
Then we have his big collection of 27 piano concertos, composed over a much longer time,
Yeah.
from about 1773 to 1791.
The year he died.
So young.
Yeah.
One thing that's really interesting to think about as we listen
Okay.
is how Mozart's style, while it definitely matured,
Right.
maintained like a really remarkable core sound.
Yeah.
It's unlike Beethoven, with his really distinct phases.
Right.
Mozart's music has these exquisite, singable melodies.
Yes, those gorgeous melodies.
Balanced forms,
Mhm.
elegant orchestration.
It's also well crafted.
It just feels consistently Mozart.
It's true.
So to really get a feel for this consistency in his serenity,
Okay.
we're going to listen to 3 specific examples
Right.
that our source picked out.
Perfect.
First, we'll hear the second movement from his violin concerto number 4 in D major.
Okay.
This was from around 1775, so very early Mozart.
Very young.
Yeah, and even in this early work,
Yeah.
you can just hear his incredible gift for melody.
Oh,
Like the violin melody almost sounds like singing
it does.
as it floats above the orchestra.
So beautiful.
It gives you this pure, untroubled feeling.
Yeah.
Now let's jump ahead to 1786.
Right.
We're going to hear the second movement of his piano concerto, Not, 24 in C minor.
Mhm.
Now this is a more mature Mozart.
Right.
And the minor key, it often suggests those deeper emotions.
So sure.
If we look at the bigger picture, this particular piano concerto is actually known for being very intense.
It is.
But even within that context,
Yeah.
the second movement offers this really profound sense of peace.
I love that movement.
It's a different kind of serenity than the violin concerto.
It is.
Maybe more inward, more contemplative.
Yeah.
There's this beautiful conversation going on between the piano and the orchestra.
It really is a conversation.
Did you notice the slightly slower harmonic rhythm here?
Yeah.
I think that adds to that reflective mood.
Absolutely.
Okay, so last stop brings us to 1791,
Okay.
Mozart's final year. We're going to hear the second movement from his piano concerto number 27 in B flat major.
Right.
This is late Mozart, composed right before he died.
So this serenity has a different feeling to it.
It does.
It has a certain weight to it.
Yes, there's a sense of calm acceptance,
Yeah.
maybe even a gentle resignation,
I can hear that.
but still so beautiful
Yes.
in that classic Mozartian way.
Definitely.
The textures feel so refined,
Yeah.
and the melodies have this lyrical simplicity that's really moving.
I agree.
It almost feels like a quiet goodbye.
It does.
So there we have it.
Yeah.
3 serene moments from Mozart.
3 very different pieces.
Yeah, 1 from his early violin concertos,
Mhm.
and 2 from his later piano concertos,
Yeah.
spanning about 16 years of his life.
Wow.
And what's really striking is that consistent thread, that
Mhm.
amazing gift for melody,
Yes.
and this ability to create such peacefulness,
Right.
no matter the instrument or where he was in his career.
You know what makes you think? How could Mozart, even at such a young age,
Yeah,
and throughout his short life, consistently tap into this wellspring of serenity, this beautiful music
yeah,
across both his violin and piano concertos?
right.
Was this capacity for serene expression just like inherent to his musical being?
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder
Huh.
if we listen to other composers,
Yeah.
but specifically for moments of, joy or melancholy or other emotions, would we find similar consistent threads in their work?
That's a great question for our listeners to ponder.
Yeah, what do you think?
I think we gave them a lot to think about today.
Me too.
See you next time.
All right.
Bye.
Here is the second deep dive on Mozart's music.
All right, welcome in everyone to another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're doing something a little bit different.
Indeed.
We're going to be listening to and talking about
Yeah.
3 pieces by Mozart.
Specifically the third movements.
Yes, the third movements of 3 different pieces.
From 3 different concertos.
Concertos.
For violin and piano.
Yes, exactly.
So we have Violin Concerto 3 in G major.
Okay.
Piano Concerto No. 21 in C major.
Okay.
And Piano Concerto No. 27 in B flat major.
All right, and so we have those 3 pieces. What else do we have? We have a great YouTube channel to thank for the excerpts we're about to hear.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is Kai-Fong Lee.
Who does a fantastic job.
Yes, and so we're going to be listening to some excerpts and talking about what makes these pieces so...
We use the word vivacious.
Yeah, vivacious. What makes these pieces so vivacious?
It's hard to define, but I think we all know it when we hear it.
Yeah, I think so. There's a certain energy there.
Right, a certain vitality.
And we can listen for specific musical elements. But I think a lot of it is just that feeling you get when you listen to it.
It's almost visceral.
Yeah, exactly.
You feel it in your body.
So let's start by listening to the first piece, which, as you said, is the Violin Concerto No. 3 in G major.
Composed in 1775.
Wow, 1775. So this is early Mozart.
This is young Mozart, only 19 years old.
19 years old. Unbelievable.
Already a master composer.
Yeah, and you can really hear that in this piece.
It's just bursting with energy.
So let's listen.
Okay. End of listening excerpt.
Wow, so much energy in that piece.
Yeah, I mean, what did you feel there listening to that?
I just felt this incredible sense of joy and excitement.
Like youthful exuberance?
Yeah, youthful exuberance. That's a great way to put it.
It makes you want to dance.
It does.
It's so full of life.
And you can just hear how much fun Mozart is having writing this music.
Yeah, you can really hear his personality coming through.
Absolutely.
And that interaction between the violin and the orchestra.
Yeah, that call and response.
Yes, it's just so delightful.
All right, so that was the Violin Concerto No. 3 in G major from 1775. Let's jump ahead now.
Get dedicated.
To 1785, and the Piano Concerto 21 in C major.
Right, which is one of Mozart's most famous and beloved piano concertos.
What can we listen for in this one?
I think in this concerto, the vivaciousness is a bit more, how should I say, refined.
Okay.
It's still full of energy, but it's also incredibly elegant.
Interesting.
And I think that's partly because Mozart is writing for the piano here.
Right.
Which is an instrument capable of so much nuance and expression.
It's almost a more mature energy.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
It's still lively, but it's also very controlled.
Exactly. And the interplay between the piano and the orchestra is just incredible.
So let's have a listen. End of listening excerpt.
Wow.
Just beautiful.
Isn't it stunning?
It's amazing how much Mozart's music can change in just 10 years.
Right. And yet it still sounds so unmistakably Mozart.
There's that same sparkle.
Yes, exactly.
It's definitely more sophisticated.
And much more virtuosic, I think.
Yeah, and the piano really gets to shine in this piece.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, so we've heard the Violin Concerto No. 3 from 1775 and the Piano Concerto No. 21 from 1785.
Right.
Let's jump ahead one last time to 1791.
The last year of Mozart's life.
Yeah, and the Piano Concerto No. 27 in B flat major.
This one is really special.
What makes it so special?
Well, for one thing, is one of Mozart's last completed works.
Wow.
So it's imbued with this sense of, I don't know, maybe finality.
I can see that.
But at the same time, the third movement is still incredibly vivacious.
Really?
Yeah, it's full of this wonderful, almost bittersweet energy.
That's fascinating.
It's like Mozart is looking back on his life and celebrating all the joy and beauty he's experienced.
It's so interesting how music can evoke such complex emotions.
It really is, and this piece is a perfect example of that.
So let's listen to the last piece, the Piano Concerto No. 27 in B flat major from 1791. End of listening excerpt.
Wow, what an incredible piece.
Yeah, it's both joyful and melancholy at the same time. It's like a bittersweet farewell.
It's almost like Mozart is saying goodbye.
To the world.
To music, to life itself.
So we've now listened to those 3 pieces from across Mozart's life.
3 different snapshots of his genius.
Each one so unique, yet all undeniably Mozart.
And also vivacious in their own way.
So what have we learned today?
Well, I think we've seen how Mozart's music evolved over time,
Definitely.
but also how certain elements, like that vivaciousness, remain constant.
Right. And I think we've also learned that vivaciousness isn't just one thing.
Exactly. It can manifest in so many different ways.
From youthful exuberance
To mature brilliance.
to bittersweet reflection.
And I think that's part of what makes Mozart's music so enduring.
It's always fresh, it's always surprising.
And it's always full of life.
So I think a good takeaway from this is to really pay attention to how music makes you feel.
Absolutely.
And to try to identify the specific elements that create those feelings. Because that's how we can really appreciate the artistry of a composer like Mozart. So where can our listeners go from here?
Well, I think a natural next step is to listen to the full concertos we've excerpted from today.
Yes, and to really pay attention to how those vivacious movements fit into the larger context of the work.
And to maybe even explore other Mozart concertos.
And to think about what other musical moments might evoke that feeling of vivaciousness.
It's a wonderful thing to discover.
It really is.
So thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the music of Mozart.
And until next time, keep listening.
And keep exploring.
We'll see you then. Bye.